Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone has been having a great weekend out there so far. We have many things to speak on in this morning's video. And of course, the first thing we'll talk about is updated information on this major pattern shift that's going to occur as we enter the new year, that's going to support well below average temperatures, an Arctic outbreak, most likely as we get several days into January, and it's going to support winter storm chances also across sections of the country, especially the central to eastern U.S. So we're going to speak on everything. The first thing we'll talk about is the latest from the Climate Prediction Center. We'll go over model guidance that does show these very, very cold temperatures. Now, we're not quite there where we can say, hey, it's going to get such and such cold for this area or this area. But I can tell you this, over the weekend so far, model guidance has continued to trend colder and colder. And it was already really cold at the beginning of the weekend. So we'll speak on that. Then we'll go over all model guidance as far as what it's showing with any kind of winter storm chances. We'll talk about operational runs like the latest Euro from overnight and the latest GFS run. Both show outrageous scenarios that cannot be completely ruled out because of this pattern that's going to settle in. We'll speak on all that, snowfall, even ice, and then we'll nerd out with you guys and explain the evolution of this pattern and why it supports such a dislodgement of cold air and a dip in the jet stream across areas of the lower 48. And then after we get done doing that, of course, we'll cover today's forecast. You know, we have some severe weather that's likely going to occur. It's already occurring this morning across areas of Georgia and South Carolina, but the rest of the Carolinas, even all the way up into maybe Ohio, could see some severe weather today, a tornado threat, damaging wind risk. So that'll be sectioned out, away from the rest of the video, and we will speak on today's weather. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below so I can do that and so others have an opportunity to do so too. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is the latest from the Climate Prediction Center. If you tuned in with last night's video, this is just kind of repeating the same information, but for any new people tuning in, I think this is very important to kind of re-go over, because this is the experts. These are humans making these forecasts. It's the Climate Prediction Center. And between the 3rd and the 7th of January, this is the 6 to 10 day period that you see up here. If you live in the blue, they're going for below average temperatures in this time period. If you live in the really darker shade of blue right here, like in the portions of the Carolinas and the mid-Atlantic, that is a 70% chance that they're saying of temperatures being below average. I've said this many times. January is the coldest month of the year for just about everybody. So if they're going for below average temperatures and already what is the coldest month of the year, you know it's going to be cold. And then you go in this lighter shade of blue, 60, 50, 40%, and a 33% chance of temperatures being below normal for this time of the year. Okay, then we go to the 8 to 14 day outlook. Their confidence does nothing but increases. So if you live in this shade of purple, that's an 80% chance of temperatures being below normal in the 8 to 14 day outlook, which I believe takes us clear all the way through the 11th. Let's see. Yes, January 5th through the 11th. That is what this time period is. And now the 70% chance of temperatures being below average has expanded to the west. And I think when they issue the new outlook today, around mid-afternoon, I think the chances of below average temperatures, I would say the confidence will grow further west. So I think we'll start to see some of these darker shade of blue extended a little bit further west, like into Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and even all the way up here into the upper Midwest and the north central U.S. And I think this purple could expand also. But anyways, regardless, well below average temperatures on the way. I mean, the Climate Prediction Center has been honking the horn at this for quite some time. They've been on it like white on rice. They've been doing an excellent job seeing this pattern coming from way out. Now, I want to show you the precipitation this same time frame. You're thinking, well, if it's going to be cold, it's probably just going to be dry. Not in this pattern. If we look at the precipitation outlook in the same time period, the 8 to 14 day outlook, if you live in that grayed out area, you can lean one way or the other. So this is the way I'll read it. If you live in that grayed area, it's a chance of average precipitation. If you live in the Northeast, yes, they are leaning below average precipitation wise. But I mean, if you live in this light shade of green, they're saying there's a 33% chance of precipitation being above normal. Now, what is that precipitation? Most likely it'll be rain, but there is a shot it could be winter weather, especially the further north you get. And yes, this pattern does support winter weather for the south. Absolutely. Maybe way down the south, like the I-20, the I-10 corridor. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a dry pattern. And then we extend this and look at the 3 to 4 week outlook, which was updated Friday. This is from the 11th of January through the 24th of January. Okay, this is extending through a good chunk of next month. I mean, they're saying there's a 60% chance in the entire southeast and surrounding geographical areas that temperatures are going to be below normal in this time period. And this lighter shade of blue, that's a 55, and then this even lighter shade of blue, it's a 50% chance of temperatures being below normal. Okay, now look at this, right? Just kind of freeze this image in your head. Now you go to the precipitation outlook in this period. I mean, they're saying they're leaning wet, which in this case, in a lot of these cases, would be wintry. This entire light green shade, that's a 50% chance of precipitation being above normal. I might have said it wrong with this. No, 33. I forgot the outlooks are a little bit different, but 50% chance of precipitation being above normal. You match that with the chances of below average temperatures and the heart of winter, which is January, especially mid to late January. What are you going to get? You're going to end up getting winter weather, not just in areas that normally get it, but areas further south too. There's going to be an opportunity there. So that's the latest from the Climate Prediction Center as far as their outlook. Now, let's talk about temperatures as far as what model guidance shows. So this is the latest Euro ensemble, which, by the way, guys, continues to trend colder. It was already just bonkers yesterday. So we'll start this off the morning of the 1st of January, the first morning of the year, right? You got a timestamp up right here. It says Wednesday, January 1, 2025. It says it up here too in acronyms, all right? So I know this might show up kind of small if you're watching this on your phone. It's probably a little bit bigger if you're watching it on the TV, but I'm going to end up missing dates. I'm not going to be able to be perfect with spitting it out. So they're in two different areas. Just keep that in mind. You're already starting to get a little bit of some below average temperatures across the south central U.S. and the deep south of the Mississippi Valley. Okay, the blues and then the greens you're going to start to see on your screen, and even this shade of purplish white, that's below average temperature. And I'll explain how below average here in a second. First push of cold air moves in just after the turn of the new year. I think we're going to get multiple cold fronts from this. Each one will be probably colder than the next. Here comes the first one. This is going to bring below average temperatures across the deep south, all the way up to the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, across the southeast. The green shaded colors here, folks, that is like upwards to 10 to almost 15 degrees below average. And that takes over as we're getting to the second. We're starting to get into the third. And below average temperatures begin to take over the upper sections of the lower 48. So up here in the high plains, the north central U.S., I mean, it's already cold with average temperatures this time of the year, but you start to get 15, 20 degrees below average. I mean, it's like the Arctic Circle. It's ridiculous. Like it was kind of a joke on social media yesterday, but it went viral, and I said, models keep dropping the North Pole into the lower 48. Well, it really does seem like that. Literally, pieces of the polar vortex are swinging down to the lower 48. But anyways, let's keep going. We're going all the way to the morning of the 4th. Another reinforcing shot of cold air starts to drop all the way down to the eastern U.S. And this has a connection to the true Arctic. And when I say that, you can tell that this is coming from a true Arctic source because it's connecting up in Canada. This is above average temperatures and the redder colors and the orange colors over here. So we have this slither right here of temperatures that are just 15, 20 degrees below average. And then that kind of detaches itself. You get a little bit of spike in warmth that warms back up in the south central U.S. I don't know if it's ever going to warm back up in the eastern U.S. before another cold shot comes in. And then this one will be colder than the rest. So this is 10 days out. If you live in the green, it's like I said, 10 to 15 degrees below average. The more bluish colors, 5 to 10. And then you're starting to show this kind of lighter shade of purplish white color, folks. If you look at the key, which I know is pretty small down here, that's like 15 to 20 degrees below average. Just getting into the 7th, getting into the 8th, and then it really drops. This is incredibly impressive in regards to long-range ensemble guidance. I cannot reiterate that enough. We're getting into the ninth, folks, and you see this shade of color right here? That is like 20 to upwards to 25 degrees below average. That is cold. That's like highs in the single digits. I mean, pretty far south. And then this crashes down across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Mississippi Valley. The center of the coldest air is definitely across the southeastern U.S. and the Midwest and just the Mid-South and the Ohio Valley. And then, I mean, we get all the way into the second weekend of January. And folks, this is dangerous cold. Like I said, that purple area, we're starting to get 25 upwards to 30 degrees below average. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so if your high temperature, for example, for January 10th standards is, let's just use a southern town, for example, in Atlanta is like 52, 53 degrees. If all of a sudden it's going to be 30 degrees below average, that means your high temperatures are going to be in the low 20s. And that is downright frigid for the South. And who knows how cold your lows could be. All right, this could be amplified more because of snowpack too. Yes, because there is a risk of winter storms in the South. And this continues. It just hangs with us for the long run, all the way to the end of the run, which continues to extend further out with each video I make because we get closer and closer to this time period. But this is all the way to the evening of the 12th. I mean, just a brutally cold air mass in this greenish color. So you continue to move forward, and I'll take a look at just a closer look at the Ohio Valley, and just here comes the real shot of cold air into the 7th, into the 8th, and then into the 9th. There's the core of the coldest air. Like, this is the evening of Thursday, January the 9th. Look at this area of temperatures like 20 to almost 25 degrees below average. And I mean, even gets colder. Look at the southeast. Look at these temperatures compared to average. And then here's more of the southeast. It's just taking a closer look. It's crazy. We're already starting to get in the range of this in the short range Euro. And just look at these temperatures. This is the evening of Friday, January the 10th. Brutally cold temperatures. And I think it has a shot to be closer to that 30 degrees below average. I mean, look at Florida getting froze up. I cannot reiterate how cold this is. And it's the first time I've done this, focusing in on the eastern U.S. This is starting a week out. So the morning of, this is literally a week from today, Sunday the 5th. It's already going to be cold. And then it moderates a little bit. And then a true Arctic front moves in. And these are low temperatures based off the latest Euro for like the morning of the 7th. And then there's just like reinforcing shots. So, I mean, this is getting kind of far out there now. I mean, this is single digits in the evening of like the 9th of January all the way down to Huntsville, Alabama. And then look at this. This is Friday morning, January the 10th, going for like negatives. I mean, all the way down to almost Jackson, Mississippi. I'll just stop it right there. Just ridiculously cold air is starting to become more of a reality in some of these forecasts, guys. So as far as snowfall, winter weather, ice, okay, this is the part where I just want to reiterate. Everything that I'm showing you guys is not a forecast, but I'm going to continue to go over model guidance until we start to really latch onto a storm system. And I think we are, at least closer to us. And I'm going to talk about other time frames too. So we're going to start this off with the morning of the 4th. So this is January the 4th, about 6 days from now. We're going to have the specific storm that gets into the central U.S. I think there's an opportunity for a winter storm across areas of the north central U.S., the Midwest. Look at this winter storm cruising over Iowa. This is Sunday morning. Remember, look up here if you want to know times. Acronym for Sunday, SUN, January 5th. And then it's right here too. This has a 999 millibar low flying across the country. It's not necessarily, it is cutting, but it's not a southwest to northeast cut. It's kind of going zonal because of the Arctic air bogging it down. This would bring a hefty winter storm to Chicago late next weekend. Around this time next weekend, it'll bring an icing situation across like Ohio and Indiana. This looks like mainly rain for the deep south, which is expected as the true core of the cold air moves in. But do not rule out this storm system for cold air damming areas. I'll just go on and get a little bit closer for you folks. Do not rule out this storm system for areas all the way down to western North Carolina. I'm going to show you what the GFS shows here in a second that supports it. And also don't rule out, as we're getting into the 5th and 6th, cold air catching up with some of this precipitation as far south as Tennessee. But this could turn into a hefty winter storm for the Northeast. I think that this has an opportunity to trend colder because of a 50-50 low setup, meaning we have a low pressure up here in Atlantic Canada pumping down cold air. Yes, we're getting a flex in the ridge, which is making this low pressure cut, but we also have just a huge amped up storm. And I think models are having a hard time with this first system in the eastern U.S. trying to figure out the extent of the cold air in the cold air damming regions. But we'll see what happens. So this area in like green that you see down here, like getting about a week from today as an opportunity for ice. So just, you heard it here first. But that moves away, right? So that system, I think, is almost a sure bet to happen. And I'm not saying there's a sure bet to get snow in Chicago or ice here. I think that the system as a whole is likely going to happen. Now let's just kind of widen this out a little bit because I do not want to leave my folks here in the central U.S. hanging. And then the cold air settles in. This is what we talk about. The ground rules for getting winter weather in the south. You got to get the cold air here first most of the time, especially east of the Appalachian Mountains. So they can ride with it a little bit more if you live in the central U.S. It works out better. But as we're getting into, and this is like the 9 to 10 day period, it's getting a little closer to us though. We're getting a lot of cold air dropping down, settling in, and then all of a sudden, boom, meets up with moisture, and we're getting winter weather. And let's just go on and let's just zoom into the central U.S. Might as well. We got time. We're getting winter weather breaking out across Texas. We're getting winter weather breaking out. The pink is freezing rain. The orange is sleet. So just don't hyper focus on that right now. And the blue is snow. All of a sudden, you get a winter storm cranking up almost as far south as Houston, almost as far south as like Corpus Christi. It's snowing in Dallas, snowing in just about 60% of Texas at this point. You got a winter storm moving into Shreveport. You got a major winter storm cruising across Louisiana, Mississippi. This is the Euro that had everybody going crazy overnight. When I woke up and looked at my phone and saw this, my eyes I went from thinking about going back to sleep for a couple more hours and my eyes was like, boom, it's like I drank a Red Bull and I got jacked up there. But anyways, look at this heavy snow breaking out across the deep south. It's still snowing back here in Texas. It's the evening of the 8th. Not a forecast, guys. Not a forecast. Remember, we're just trying to figure out time frames. But if it keeps showing up, then it tells you that, hey, the pattern supports it. And this is what we're trying to do. Recognize this pattern. Has a ice storm all the way down to Baton Rouge and New Orleans. I mean, it has ice all the way down to Gulfport. And then this continues. And let's back it up a little bit and let's look at the eastern U.S. And let's go through the rest of the run, right? Okay. Anything else after that? Yeah, I mean, we got some energy flying down. But now let's look at the eastern U.S. Okay, let's back this up a little bit. We keep going, not a whole lot going on. We'll watch for some weekend energy coming up. I think that we'll get some lake effect snow. I think lake effect snows will be just a big thing for a long period of time. Lake effect snow's popping off. You see these slashes of blue. Nothing totally unusual about that when you have cold air going over the still ice-free areas of the Great Lakes. But they might have an opportunity to freeze over in the coming weeks. Here comes that big amped up system we've already talked about. That moves through. And then here comes the one I just broke down for the south central U.S. Look at it. We got moisture moving in. Cold air is there. Snow's starting to move into Atlanta. Snow's taking over Tennessee. Snow's moving into Birmingham. We got freezing rain as far south as Mobile, Alabama, almost down to Pensacola, Florida. And then we got a major winter storm moving into Atlanta, Columbia, Charlotte, Asheville, eastern Tennessee, all the way up to Raleigh. And then this is just your classic heavy snow switching to an ice storm in the sections of Georgia, South Carolina, southeast sections of North Carolina. This is a whopper of a winter storm. I mean, it drops 1.5 feet, almost 2 feet of snow in areas of like South Carolina and North Carolina. It moves up, slams the mid-Atlantic. This is a time period we're watching, and this time period is supported by the ensemble guidance, which is what I'm about to show you guys. And this continues. We get into the afternoon of the 9th. Continues to snow, guys. Continues to snow. Major winter storm for the mid-Atlantic region, for the Northeast. for the southern New England, turns into a massive winter storm also for Atlantic Canada. And then it tries to do something at the end of the run. Look, it tries to bring down another event. That green is snow. I don't know why Weather Bell keeps doing that. And you can see another system pretty far south that's just waiting to tap into more cold air, but this is as far out as the run goes. This pattern is locked and loaded, guys. I'm telling you. This is the latest GFS run. Here it comes. There's that first system we just broke down. I think that this system is a lock. That doesn't mean that it's a lock as far as precipitation being one way or the other. It's a lock as far as precipitation, though, in my opinion. I think that this is a big amped up system. It's going to happen. This is likely going to bring winter weather, maybe a major winter weather event across the Central Plains. Could be a big winter storm for areas of Missouri into Iowa. It's a little bit further south with this. This brings a winter storm to Chicago, to a good almost all of Illinois, into Indianapolis. This is mainly rain for, say, Arkansas, mainly rain for Tennessee. And then this is when I want to switch it to the eastern U.S. frame. This is what I'm talking about. I don't think we need to just skip time periods. I think that this storm is worth watching also before the real true winter pattern settles in. But this is a major winter storm for the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. A week from today, this is the thing. We've been talking about this to death, but this is working closer to us now. It's closer. So this is breaking out freezing rain across western North Carolina. This is definitely a decent cold air damming event. This is even bringing snow to northern sections of North Carolina, bringing a winter storm into Virginia. Ice. This is just a classic Miller B setup, meaning you got a low pressure cutting, but you got cold air crashing down to the cold air damming regions trapped east of the Appalachian Mountains. And this turns into a major winter storm for the D.C. area, the Delmarva, a big ice event for the western sections of North Carolina. And then this turns into a more significant winter storm for the Northeast. I mean, even the I-95 corridor, New York City, even into Buffalo. And then what happens after that? All right, let's go on and switch it back to a broad look here. What happens after that? We got energy continuing to dive down. You can see it right here. It's diving down. Snow breaks out across the mid and deep south right here. This is like the 8th of January. And then there is a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy here. It's just under the hood. It's not reflecting to the surface. Now watch what the GFS does here. Throw some energy down here. There's some snow breaking out across the Mississippi Delta region. This is getting past 300 hours out. Looks like it's about to gear up another winter weather event. Here's a light snow event breaking out across the deep south. It dumps a snowstorm on North Florida and South Georgia. That tells you how ripe this pattern is coming up. I have never seen a model run dump several inches of snow like this on Florida. It's crazy. It dumps a major snowstorm on North Florida. There's a snowstorm into Jacksonville. I mean, all the way down to St. Augustine, and gets it all the way into the southeastern section, the coastal areas of Georgia. And then it bombs out a huge low pressure here. Pretty wild stuff, guys. And just because, you know what, we can do what we want on this channel. This is not a forecast. Good gracious. Please not a forecast. Remember that is what I'm trying to say. If we look at Florida, look at how much snowfall that model run dropped on Florida. Perry then got hit by about 3 or 4 hurricanes, it seems like, over the last couple of years. Well, it's the king of snowstorms also. Wants to dump 9 inches of snow on Perry, Florida. It's just pretty wild stuff. It just tells you how ripe the pattern is. Now, if you look at the central U.S. as far as the signal for snow, this is the first round, right? We're going to start this the morning of the 3rd. Watch how the signal increases as we go forward here. And you see the bump up in snowfall totals here. This is just the Euro ensemble makes up 50-something runs here and creates an average or a mean. And you can see the winter storm signal here for the Midwest and to the Great Lakes region and the Ohio Valley. And then you can see as we get deeper into the run, the snowfall mean crashes south and west. It's not a very, I would say it's not super impressive of a run for like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but the further you get north and east, and the more impressive it gets. This is a solid signal for multiple rounds of winter weather across this section of the country up here. And then we look at the GFS ensemble, which I believe this is still running. I don't know if it's completed yet. Same thing, you see the first batch of winter weather that's going to come over the next couple of days, and then the signal increases with that winter storm signal across the central U.S. and the plains, and then eventually, getting into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. And then we continue to go forward here, and let's just go all the way to the length of the run. And, sure enough, and this isn't the entirety of the run. This goes out 384 hours out, so the GFS ensemble is still running. But you can see at the end of the run how the snowfall average begins to crash south into northern Texas. It starts to take over Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, solid signal. And just to take a look at the run prior to this, it's actually gotten better for areas further south, but this is the entirety run of that. But listen, it's not just going to be snow with this first winter storm for like the Midwest, if it's going to occur, which I think it is. I think we're going to get icing with this. This is the smoothed out average. And what's cool about Pivotal Weather, and this is the only site that shows this, this is the Euro Ensemble guidance for freezing rain. That's a pretty hefty signal. And this isn't through the entire run. This is through that time period I'm watching for a winter storm in these states here. This is a pretty solid signal for freezing rain also. I mean, your average between all these runs is like 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain. And like St. Louis, for example, even has a little signal up into Chicago, certainly Indianapolis, Peoria, all the way into Ohio, northern Kentucky. So there's a shot of freezing rain with this system coming in about a week from today, give or take a day. Now you look at the Euro for the eastern U.S., and I'm going to start this off Sunday morning, a week from today, January, I almost said February, January the 5th. Between now and then, this looks mainly lake effect snow driven and interior northeast type snow. Northwest flow stuff going all the way down to the Alps in North Carolina and Tennessee. Now watch as we move past this time frame. We start to get into the majority of that first storm system, right? So the snowfall average begins to increase. I mean, you even got a signal through 10 days all the way down to Charlotte, northern Georgia, even into Tennessee, into the mid-Atlantic. It's not high, but it's really after the day 10 period. And I've always said that I've liked after the first weekend of January. And I really like after the 8th, 9th, and 10th of January, to be honest. But watch how the snowfall average dramatically crashes. And if you watch yesterday evening's video, I said yesterday afternoon is the best Euro ensemble run I've seen in years. This one beats it. The one overnight beat it. And watch how the snowfall average crashes south dramatically. I mean, this is all the way through the evening of January the 12th. You have a snowfall average of like 2 to 3 inches into Atlanta and Columbia, South Carolina, an inch or two into Birmingham, the entire state of Tennessee, 2 to 3 inch snowfall average, all of North Carolina, 2, 3, 4, even higher in the mountains. And you even have a signal down here in like the southern sections of the deep south, like Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, even a little signal into Florida. Pretty insane stuff, guys. It's just mind blowing. And once again, this is the run. Let's go back to OOZ. Okay, this is the OOZ. Let's go down here. Same thing. We'll start off with the 12th and just watch how the snowfall average begins to crash south in time. Not as dramatic as the Euro Ensemble, but I'll tell you, if you're a winter weather fan, you should be happy that the Euro Ensemble is on your side, because that's one of the most reliable models in the world. But watch it, same thing. GFS Ensemble overnight. Watch how it crashes south, and then all of a sudden you get over an inch snowfall mean, even pretty far south. It's just not as loud as the Euro Ensemble. But you look at the latest 06Z, and it's impressive too. It's not done running yet, but you can see after we get past the first weekend of January how much it crashes south pretty dramatically after that time period. And I mean, we go all the way out to, this is all the way out to the morning of January 12th. The run isn't done, so I think the snowfall average is continuing to crash south, but I mean, it's already pretty far south. And if you compare this at this same time frame as the OOZ, you got more members, you can tell, on the 06Z getting snow pretty far south, because you're starting to see some numbers down here. So pretty impressive stuff, guys. It really is. And same thing, I look at the ice. There is a hefty ice signal. This isn't from the first, I think some of this is from that system this coming next weekend into early the week after. But all this down here, this is from what happens after the first weekend of January. I mean, you got over 1/10 of an inch ice mean average in Columbia, Charlotte. There's a hefty signal for freezing rain this far out. So, yeah, guys, the portion where we'll nerd out with you guys, and we talked on this many times. This is the first trough. It'll deliver the first shot of cold air. Cold air will kind of slide down behind this trough like it always does with a trough of low pressure, trough of low pressure. Anytime I say trough, I'm meaning this area in blue. And then the ridging is the area in the warmer colors, reds, oranges, yellows, etc. So the big blob of blue, this is going to bring down cold air down here. So we're going to get that shot of cold air all the way here. This is kind of the first shot, right? But as far as energy-wise, this isn't going to cut it. The energy is really just northern stream dominated, so it's kind of coming down here, and what that is going to do is just kickstart the lake effect snow, northwest flow stuff for the mountains of the Appalachians. So the ridge spikes. This is what's going to amplify a storm system between two trough digs here. We got high latitude blocking up here. We're going to get the reinforcing ridge all the way up to Alaska. That's going to help continue to dislodge cold air down here. So you keep this in motion. We're going to lose that blue. You're thinking, oh, it's over. And then another trough digs, and this is the big one. You can already tell how this ridge is this trough is extended further back west, and the ridge is kind of pushed a little bit further west. So now we got this ridge spiking to Alaska still. Big trough digging down here. Dislodgement of cold air into this lower pressure, energy, active storm track, high latitude blocking, locking in all this energy and this cold air. So at this point, I'm going to continue to go a little bit further with this. That is about as good of a pattern as you can get. I mean, you can't ask for much more if you like winter weather, if you like cold for areas of the south central U.S. But the thing is we're running the risk of dangerous cold. So at this point, ridge spiking, high latitude blocking, cold air being dislodged, dipping the jet stream going just like this. Okay, let's get that one off. So at this point, we're probably going to have a little bit of more in the way of some southern stream energy. So energy and the X that I'm drawing is coming through here. A lot of energy diving down here. Okay, then we have a chance of a phasing storm system to connect. And then all of a sudden, you get something like what the Euro showed, and that is a major winter storm in this entire region right into here. And that's what happens. You get energy coming. Cold air dives down. You get a locking mechanism with the high latitude blocking, maybe even some sort of 50-50 low locking in that cold air. And voila, boom, you get something crazy like a major winter storm for areas pretty far south. And this pattern continues, guys. And I mean, it lasts through the entirety of the run. And you can see what I mean with energy. This is the first trough digging down, the dip in the jet. You can see how all the energy is really just up here in the Great Lakes region, the Midwest, all the way down into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Could do something funky, but really, here comes our big amped up system that moves in, brings that winter storm potential across the Midwest into the Ohio Valley and to the Northeast. And then the real trough digs down, and as you can tell, a lot more energy now is further to the west. So we're getting this energy coming down here. We're starting to see some clutter down here, which tells us the southern stream is getting somewhat more active. We're going to have a risk of a phasing system, and this just continues, guys. In fact, as we get deeper into the run, you're starting to see even more clutter over here, which is telling us there's a little bit more in the way of an active southern stream with this. So, yeah, hope that makes sense. But moving past this, we have a line of severe storms making its way out of Georgia right now, moving into South Carolina. There's no tornado warnings right now, but this line right here, I live in Columbia. I live right here near Lake Murray, and this line of storms heading right towards me. That's why I'm trying to get done with this video so I can do local alerts. But that wow, that's too much, too zoomed out here. That line of storms is moving through. We got this back-end precipitation, big area of rain surging through the Ohio Valley. I think with the surface low up here, you're going to have a tornado risk maybe in areas of Ohio later today. And then we got a lot of moisture moving into the western U.S. As far as watches, warnings, and advisories, these yellow areas right here, and that looks like that was a tornado warning, but it expires in 3 minutes, so I think it's been dropped. But these yellow areas here, these are tornado watches that expire in about 5 to 6 hours for the Carolinas. So this line is moving through. Once we can get this line out of the way, there will be an opportunity for more storms to form, but I think the chances are pretty low for it. So we got some special weather statements, a winter weather advisory up here, and Maine, and then we got a lot of winter weather alerts across the Rockies up here. But, just breaking down this severe weather threat, this is for what's going on right now. I think the edge of this will get cut off as this line of storms moves through, but you got a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather from southern VA all the way to northern sections of Florida. This includes, Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg to Augusta. And I think that your severe weather threat's just about over for Atlanta to Macon. But still, the risk of a tornado, right over Charlotte to Columbia to Augusta. And this is for over the next several hours, guys. So please be aware of this. Tornado risk will be there. 5% risk in the brown area. 2% risk in the green area. Wind threats, 15% risk in this entire yellow area, which is really what's driving the slight risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. We take a look at what the radar could look like today, and it's pretty much matching up well. Squall line will move through, or squall line-like line of storms will move through, blast through the Carolinas, through Georgia, the panhandle of Florida, and will even impact the southern sections of Virginia. This line, by the time we're at 1 p.m., this is already cruising past the central sections of the Carolinas. It's already moving offshore into Georgia. We're going to get a lot of storms in the peninsula of Florida today, very stormy day. And I think this starts to lose some steam as it gets into eastern North Carolina, which is surprising. Normally they gain a lot of steam. But I do want to watch this line of convection right here behind it. I think that could do something. And we just need to watch it here. But here's a closer look at these storms. They will blast through Columbia, Charlotte, southeast Georgia. Eventually we'll get all the way into Raleigh, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, probably early afternoon, midday, lunchtime, give or take an hour. And then these will make it all the way to the Tidewater. It looks like it'll lose some steam. I do want to watch this secondary line of storms that could develop behind this main push. Does the atmosphere try to recover? I think that this secondary line of convection, if it forms, has a better tornado risk with it, but it might not even develop. So we'll have to just watch. But, if you're looking at the updraft velocity swath with this, it is definitely its highest in the South Carolina and even Georgia over the next several hours. So we just need to be aware of this, most definitely, guys, and just stay weather aware. We could have some gusty winds with this too. For looking at surface winds and this wind gust swath here, 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts in all the areas that you see in green and orange here. So conditions up into the northeast today, I really do think there's a tornado risk right up against this surface low in extreme eastern Indiana and Ohio. Please be aware of this. Don't let this sneak up on you. There is a 2% risk of a tornado in areas of Ohio today. In Michigan, I think you're north of the surface low, so I don't think you have to worry about it too much. But this could switch to some snow in northern lower Michigan, maybe some light snowfall totals from that. And, then later tonight into tomorrow morning, we're going to get a push of shower, maybe even some storm activity into Long Island, southern New England. Some gusty winds are possible with this. South Central U.S., quiet weather, nothing to speak on. Much quieter today compared to the last couple of days. So enjoy your Sunday. And then up here in the North Central U.S., big blob of rain. We'll be moving through areas of Indiana, lower Michigan. We'll make it all the way to extreme eastern areas of the UP. Here's a stripe of wet snow that could develop across certain sections of the Great Lakes region, but I wouldn't bet on much. And then we got a system that's going to emerge after this, and this is going to bring a swath of snow across South Dakota all the way down into northern counties of Nebraska tomorrow, and we will speak a little bit on that. That's just a system sort of trapped in the ridge. It'll swing down. And then the western U.S., here's that energy that will move into the high plains eventually and bring a little bit of snow into South Dakota, Wyoming. Look at the snow flying around later tomorrow morning, and then eventually into northern Nebraska. But just typical stuff across the western U.S., higher elevation snow, lower elevation rain. Just taking a look at the snowfall forecast for the Rockies and the Sierra Nevada and all of the Cascades over the next 48 hours. Heavy, higher elevation snow, lower elevations, this will just be rain. Just taking a look at the Dakotas and the upper sections of the plains over the next 48 hours. A little bit of wet snow is possible from this, not a lot though. Temperatures, warm, well above average across the eastern U.S. We were expecting this. There's no surprise at all because of this. And then the western U.S., this is what you're looking at. God bless all y'all. Almost got a 40-minute video this morning. This will be a 40-minute video. Stay safe out there with the severe weather, and I'll have you another update this evening. God bless.